So if I want to learn Kung Fu, I once went to some kind of Kung Fu dojo, and I was just like a little reckless, and this guy was like serious as fuck. And on his wall he had all these weapons, so I decided to walk towards one of those weapons because I was like chill and casual, and decided to take one of the weapons. And he screamed, I don't know how he saw me because his space was full. He screamed from the other side of the room. He says, if you did this in China, they'd kill you? I'm like, no, of course I don't know this. In other words, this is big boy fucking games. This is a fucking sword. That's like a gun. You are a beginner of a beginner of a beginner, and you have no fucking respect for the sword that you think that you can touch and take the sword in your hand. That's what I received from that person. That's my translation, of course. So you have no foundation, no sense of who you are in the kung fu of life, and then you want to fuck, which is essentially the atomic bomb of weapons. And you just want to do whatever the fuck you want. Because you watch porn and you got an education there. It's the best example I can come up with right now. But because sexuality has been rendered into a scene in a movie, you have no sense of what it is, what it can do, what it does. Nobody's taught you that the world we live in has been generated by the sexual energies of countless individuals for thousands, if not millions of years. This is the world we live in. It's created by sexuality. Nobody's teaching you this. Yeah, but this is the basics. It's like, I had to go to school, I had to fucking listen to this nonsense about chemistry. And what is it called? The chart, atomic, periodic table. Then you have to learn the periodic table with all the elements and how you combine them. And I even did this in university. I did organic chemistry, blah, 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 blah. Right? Just so that you can have a sense of how things kind of work. Ain't nobody teaching you how sexuality works, nor the foundation or periodic table of that. How these forces combine and what they generate. You get your lessons from cheap tabloid magazines and stupid porn and movies with love scenes. Get the fuck out of here. The world is insane, man. How is it that the most powerful sacred thing ever, which is sexuality, can be made and has been transformed into such a corrupt, vile, empty action? So I'm not talking from a religious point of view where I want to like, oh my God, this is sacred because I'm like Christian. No. Do I look like a person like that? Of course not. I'm talking about literally this is what it is. This is a supreme creative power at the base of everything. So if you want to enter the arena, you should learn the sport. Yet nobody wants to speak about it because people don't know. Let's be straight. But why don't they know? This is the most basic thing. Like everybody knows the sun rises in the morning. If they have a sense of direction, they know it's over there. You can call that east. And it sets over there. You can call that west. Everybody knows that because it's obvious. Well, that's as obvious. Because that's what happens to you. You're born. Your body grows so that sexual power can awaken. And then your next impulse is, I want to mate. Because when I mate, it creates something which is another me. Can it get more basic than this? Every animal knows about that. And they have the instincts to do everything necessary to survive in order to be able to mate, to reproduce. They didn't go to school. It's built into them. I know exactly what to do, how to eat, how to preserve myself, how to heal my body, what herbs to take and not to take, where to live, how to build my home in order to preserve my life so I can copulate and reproduce. So clearly that also must apply for human beings. There has to be some kind of basic blueprint, something that knows. Now, the human beings are not animals. Like I said, the animal just knows how to just survive. The human being has a super potential. All you got to do is look around. We've created, let's put all judgments aside. Look at the civilization we live in. You have a thing that looks like, I don't even know what it looks like. It looks like nothing. Nothing in nature looks like that. And then you push a thing, and then you talk to another person who's at the other side of the world. You like you lift a faucet and there's endless water forever. You go outside, there's machines that remove the snow. Like, think, you go to the city, there's like buildings that you can't even understand. So this is what sexual energy for the human being is able to create. Planes, trains, cars, technology, fashion, music. What's creating all of that? Sexual power, obviously. Sexual creative power. So animals don't fucking do that. So clearly human being sexuality has a very a different kind of potential than just replicate. Wonderful. So that's all sexual energy. Well, why is not nobody talking about this? Why is nobody speaking on, well, that's a lot of power. How do I develop that power? How do I cultivate that power? How do I master that power? How do I channel that power? How does that power now come in relation to the woman? Who's the representative of the polar opposite? If I'm plus, she's minus. Well, obviously you need polarity. Everything that is birth comes from that dance. Everything. She draws out of man everything. Well, that's a lot of power. Okay? So, how come we don't talk about that magnetism? Literally. It's electrical and magnetic, both at the same time, and then I'm going to put atomic also. Well, that's a lot of power. What's that? What's the actual potential of this? What could it do in its like best case scenario? Well, I don't know. Well, that's it. Shouldn't you discover? Shouldn't somebody tell you? You know what this could create? Yeah, we already know. It either can create heaven or it can create hell. It either can create a devil or it can create a god. Well, that's all the sexual power. Hello? So shouldn't you then, when you're in the presence of such a power within yourself and you're meeting her and she's got all that power inside, shouldn't there be some kind of respect? Now, I say this, and I totally understand. You have no idea what I'm talking about, or very little. So what does that say? Oh, that you're fucking sick. That's what it says. You're diseased. You have no idea what I'm saying. Well, if you have no idea what I'm saying, or the only way you have an idea is that you fantasize it or visualize it in your brain, like a person who reads a religious text and then has a feeling that they're connected to God, you're just in fantasy, you're in your imagination. But you don't have an actual realization of it, or very little. Well, where did that realization go? The animals know. Nothing around you supports that education. Well, you can almost think it's kind of intentional. Let's not go into that. We've spoken about it before. Anyways, the point is, this is happening between your relationship with yourself, when yourself at home alone, and her at home alone, and then when you meet. How come ain't nobody, isn't that like a super sport? If you have to learn for months how to play fucking tennis, this is like fucking super tennis. Shouldn't you learn? Did you? No, you watch porn. That's what you got your education from. Or you went to class and they told you all these crazy stuff. Starting with the fact that a man is not necessarily a guy, a girl is not necessarily a girl, and then there's everything in between. That's how you start. Hello, you may not be a guy, but you do have a penis. And you may not be a girl, you may have a vagina. Welcome to class. This is sexual education. Imagine. So look how far we are from learning about the sacred sexual potential. We can't even fucking talk about polarity now. The basics of sexuality is plus minus. It's called electricity. Plus minus. Full, empty. Empty pulls out of full everything it's got to create a movement. We can't even have a conversation about the basic polarity, let alone discover anything else. Like even that's become now subject to debate, that there's a plus and there's a minus, because that's called binary thinking. And some people, of course, don't identify as plus or minus. Therefore, plus or minus must be a socially constructed affair. Well, with all due respect, my friends, nature's made it like that. So I can appreciate or sympathize with the fact that you may not associate like this because something in your system is out of balance. And I can respect that you may be happy with your out of balanceness and want to pretend that your out of balanceness is a new way of isness. Whatever works for you. But at the end of the day, plus and minus, that's how everything in nature operates. So we can't even have a conversation about that, let alone discuss what's that potential supposed to do and the dance and how to dance and how to create that potential and how to birth it. Now, when I speak like this, people will be like, this is deep. No, it kind of is. But no, it's pretty fucking basic. Like you just had sex with a girl. And she's pregnant and she got a child. I just said the same thing, except I made it like I gave you an actual sense of what you just birthed. There was no person and the person is there. You had sex with her and now a new person appeared. A new person. That new person could be the most beautiful girl that's ever existed on earth. That new person may be the next most important genius, or that person may save thousands of lives or just 10 lives for that matter. That person may be Krishna. So let's pretend for the sake of conversation, whatever, you've just birthed a person who's able to do endless amounts of things, who in their own right can also birth another person who can do endless amounts of things. That's fucking God. That's a lot of power in your fucking pants, man. And here you are jacking off in your goddamn Kleenex. That's what I'm trying to say. So I don't care that you want to jack off in your fucking Kleenex. Respect to your fucking Kleenex. That's what it's for. But the point is, who wants to speak about the nature of sexuality and that potential exists? Well, yeah, it exists. And if you don't respect it, here's what happens when you don't respect something. It bites you. So this is a dragon, and you're just systematically disrespecting the dragon. So guess what's going to happen? It's going to bite back in the form of all kinds of consequences. Because you don't know how to use that power. You don't respect that power. You don't respect the sacredness of the power and its function. Therefore, you do it, and your erratic mind, which is under the jurisdiction of all kinds of fucking powers, namely corporations, who do not care about you, it's hijacking and using that power and creating all kinds of consequences for you that you don't know about, and then you're suffering from there, from all this nonsense that you've created, because you don't understand the nature of the game. Anyways, there's a lot of data. I apologize. It's a little too much maybe, but this is what I had to say.